They came from Europe, survived under a museum roof, and conquered an entire continent. This is not a fiction. In 1890, 100 of them were released in Central Park. Today, there are over 200 million of them, and they've been wreaking havoc ever since. Hello. Welcome to Polymath-ish. I'm your host, Storm Hardy. And to begin the story I want to tell you today, I have to tell you about a very stupid idea by very stupid people. These people are long dead, and they were rather dumb, so I don't feel too bad saying that. Let me explain. This is the story of how cultural vanity and ecological ignorance unleashed a creature that now costs us hundreds of millions a year, and killed people. In the mid-19th century, acclimatization societies arose. They are founded out of a belief that humans could improve nature and solve practical problems by relocating species. The first of these societies was founded in Paris in 1854 by Isidore Geoffroy Saint-Hilaire. He urged for introducing animals for pest control and food supply. Similar organizations spread across the Western world. One of the more ill-minded ideas that arose from these organizations was the idea of spreading animals for cultural comfort. European colonists liked having familiar animals from home in their new lands. At the same time, this was seen as a progressive measure. See why I said they were stupid? Well, this brings us back to New York City in around 1890 and the American Acclimatization Society, which was founded 19 years earlier, and what their plans were. Specifically one man's plan. Eugene Schieffelin, a pharmaceutical drug manufacturer and founding member of the American Acclimatization Society, an amateur ornithologist. Now, the details on this are a bit shaky, and some historians disagree on it, but according to popular lore, Eugene aimed to introduce every bird mentioned in Shakespeare. Yeah, on top of being a bird guy, this guy was also a theater kid. Eugene and the society got to work. They released skylarks, bullfinches, song thrushes, but none of them seemed to stick. They would survive maybe 1 or 2 years at most, and the local population would perish. But, and this is just conjecture, I think our bird guy knew this next batch would work. In a colder spring than average, March 6, 1890, he commands his assistants to open the cage doors, and 60 European starlings fly away. The next year, he and the society decide to release an extra 40 starlings to increase the local population. Now, it's not like these birds were successful right away. In fact, it was looking like another one of Eugene's failed attempts. In just 2 short winters in New York City, the population had dropped down from 100 all the way down to 32. However, after all this, they found a new place to rest. A new roost, if you will. You'll never guess where it was. It's almost like the universe was playing a joke. They nested under the eaves of the American Museum of Natural History, the very place dedicated to celebrating biodiversity and the environment led to these birds being able to rebound. Unironically, a monument to biodiversity not only allowed them to rebound, but they exploded in population. It was their cradle, in a way, as a lineage. Before the end of the decade, they were a common sight in New York City. By 1920, they spread halfway across the continent. And in the 1950s, they'd finally reached the Pacific coast. They had conquered America because a theater kid really liked birds. By this time, starlings had become one of the most invasive species ever, reaching the top 100 invasive species by the IUCN. The Washington Post called them arguably the most hated bird in North America. The New York Times called them one of the costliest and most noxious birds on our continent. But what can a couple birds really do? Turns out, a whole lot. Firstly, they flock together in huge groups called murmurations that can number up to millions of birds. These groups, as they travel, shred through wheat fields and potato patches alike. They bully and chase native bird species away from their nests, making it hard for them to survive. They spread disease from fungal infections and salmonella, which not only affects ourselves, but our livestock as well. Not only that, they poop so much, coating city infrastructure en masse in droppings that corrode the stone and reek in the summer heat. They even decided to take out a plane. Yeah, you heard me right. These starlings took down a passenger jet. I guess they really conquered our skies as well. In 1960s, an estimated 10,000 starlings flew into a plane as it took off from Logan Airport in Boston. The starlings massacred the engines. Although the engines probably did a number on them as well. The plane crashed shortly after, where only 10 of the 72 passengers survived. Let's pause for a moment and ask why these birds were so powerful in their new home. The answer lies in a perfect storm of pre-adaptation and human change. Back in Europe, starlings thrived in open fields, city edges, and farmlands, the very environments humans replicated en masse across North America. Our lawns, roadsides, and agricultural pastures became an endless habitat for them. As the advance of humans across the west of the continent, so came the starlings. They're opportunistic omnivores, eating insects, fruit, grain, trash, and they can nest in almost any cavity, from tree holes to building vents. Most native cavity nesters aren't so flexible, and the starling's aggressive behavior often drives them out. In short, we unintentionally carved out a continent that looks like home, just without the predators or competition to keep them in check. I want to read you a quote. You know, the quote that started it all. It comes from Act 1, Scene 3 of Henry IV, Part 1. That's a mouthful. The line comes from a character named Hotspur, who is describing his intention to keep pressure on the king to pay a ransom for his brother-in-law Mortimer. However, the king has forbidden the name of Mortimer to be spoken. Hotspur says, "Nay, I'll have a starling shall be taught to speak, nothing but Mortimer, and give it to him, to keep his anger still in motion." Now it sounds weird, but I want this story that I just told you to be your starling. Your reminder that messing with nature does not have good consequences, that even in the best of intentions or the stupidest of ones, they all lead to the same road, ecological destruction. So viewer, I give you this video to keep your anger still in motion.